March 3rd City of Merritt Recovery Operations Public Information Session. My name is Ben Morgan, and I am pleased to be moderating tonight's information session for you. We have a great lineup of presenters today. Hopefully that will be able to provide you with an update on recovery efforts happening in the City of Merritt over the last couple of weeks, and what we can expect to come in the week or two upcoming. I would like to start off by inviting Mayor Brown to welcome you and to give a land acknowledgement, and then we'll begin with our agenda.
Thank you, Ben. So I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inkla, Katmuks, and Syilx people. And I will remind everyone that we still have several people that are not in their homes, and another countless number of individuals who are in their homes, but still dealing with cleanup and repairs to the dwellings. I just want to assure you, we continue to work proactively to get you, our residents, into your homes as soon as we possibly can. I'll turn this meeting back over to Ben Morgan, our MC and moderator, who will introduce our guest speakers. Ben.
Thank you, Mayor Brown, and thank you to everybody that's able to join us tonight. I know many of the team that is assembled here today are in different parts of BC and other parts of the country. So it's great that we can all gather virtually, and we look forward to the time when we can actually get together in person and have face-to-face conversations with everybody. But let's start off by introducing Mr. Greg Selecki. Greg Selecki has been working, I know, tirelessly the last couple of months in leading the recovery operations for the City of Merritt, and has some pretty great news in many different respects of recovery to share with us. So, Greg, if you don't mind, what's top of mind for recovery right now?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. What I'd really like to do is acknowledge a few groups of people as well, and I want to start by thanking Council for their patience and persistence while our recovery team is working towards our primary objective of getting Merrittonians back home. So that's really noticed and appreciated. Secondly, thank my team, the recovery team, for all the hard work that they're doing, as you just mentioned. And we're going to get to hear from some of the team members today and all the great effort that they put towards their particular sections. So good updates to look forward to tonight. But finally, I'd really like to thank the public and the community for showing up. Right, whether you're volunteering, whether you're creating charity events, fundraisers, or even coming to these meetings. It's really important. Going to the websites and filling out questionnaires, providing your feedback. That's how we're all going to move forward together. And we've heard a lot of great comments, and that's how we move. That's how we move this thing forward. One update I can give right now before you move into some of our sector leaders, Ben, is we've heard about the safety, security issues in some parts of the community, and starting tomorrow morning, we'll have 24/7 security monitoring the community, 8 o'clock in the morning, 24/7. So that's another good win that we've got, and being able to provide you for the feedback that we're getting. So I'll hand it back to you, Ben, and we'll get to hear from the rest of the recovery team. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. And I think it's also important to note that's great that security is now being available into the community. We've seen a lot of comments about concerns about security, and also note recently that the RCMP did issue a statement that they're also aware and are patrolling the areas as well. So that's a great augmentation to what the City of Merritt's able to provide as far as it goes to security. Beyond the housing situation that we have, Merritt has been challenged with a lot of infrastructure damage as a result of the floods in November. And Darcy has been really working hard on some of the big infrastructure challenges that have been facing Merritt. And so, Darcy, wonder if you wouldn't mind updating us on the infrastructure projects that where they're at, what you're working on, and what we can see coming in the near future here.
Certainly, Ben. No, it's my pleasure to present some of the work that our team has been working on here around the critical infrastructure portfolio. What I'll talk about here briefly will be, we'll talk about a couple of the short-term projects that you'll see, works that will be ongoing in the coming weeks and months. Then I'll talk about some of the planning works that are ongoing and where you'll see construction happening in a couple months to 3 month time frame, and then some of the longer term works that we're engaged with as well. So to start us off, just works that are coming up in the short term. First of which is the bridge removal. So this is the Middleborough Bridge, the one side where the one span had collapsed. On the south side, that is being essentially taken out of the river or removed from the stream itself, and that work will be occurring this week. And essentially the contractors will be mobilizing tomorrow in the next couple days, with that work planning to take about 2 to 3 weeks. And so the purpose of that work is essentially to remove the collapsed span, the abutment, or the essentially the concrete there that the span was sitting on, and then also the balance of that bridge, and that's to allow for the eventual replacement of that bridge with a new span. So that's one of the projects that are coming up here. If anyone was out walking today, you would have seen there were a couple of site meetings that were held over the course of this afternoon. And so you might have seen some contractors and some of our engineers there on site, meeting with them to do some RFP clarification and some coordination meetings there today. Second of which will be the Voigt Street embankment. So this is the embankment immediately. It's at essentially where the span had collapsed is at Voigt Street there, and you can see, or if you've walked around there, you would have seen that the embankment is eroding. There's a couple of hydro poles there that are on the near end of the bank, so we need to protect that embankment to prevent further erosion. So that work, we have a tender right now that's open. We hope to select a successful bidder by the end of next week, with mobilization the following week. So again, the purpose of that is to protect critical infrastructure that includes the roadway itself, and that's the approach to where the new span or the new bridge will be. And essentially, it'll be some works in and around the river, and some riprap, some rock placed or armoring to ensure that erosion doesn't continue to happen, particularly as we get into higher flows later on in the spring. So again, those works will begin on or about the 14th of March, and it's expected to take about 4 to 6 weeks to complete. So you'll start to see some activity on that side. So again, the bridge deconstruction or removal will occur in the next couple of weeks, and then this riprap or armoring of the embankment will begin shortly thereafter. So again, starting in about 2 weeks and then lasting until mid-April. And then the third location where we have some short or near-term works will be reinforcing some of the other dikes and doing some dike repairs throughout the city. So these are 6 additional locations throughout the city, including the vicinity of Pine Street, and then various locations across from Claybanks, Garcia. There's a location, and others. And this is just areas where there had been erosion over the course of the high water in November. We had an assessment done this spring to evaluate the status of the dikes, and now we'll be going in to repair them again. And so that'll again be excavators placing rocks, larger armored rock. There will be rock trucks coming to bring that material, and then and to place it. So again, I guess I would also mention that all 3 of these sites will be active construction areas. So though it may be tempting to go and observe what's happening, there's probably some good vantage points on the other side of the river if you're interested in seeing the works, but would certainly want to discourage anyone walking through or near those sites, just because there will be active construction equipment, large trucks moving back and forth, and it won't be a safe place to watch from. But that being said, there will be other areas that you can likely catch a glimpse of the works from an area that's safe and out of the way. But again, that would be on the other side of the river or away from the construction sites themselves. So those are the short-term kind of near view projects that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'll talk just briefly about projects coming on or getting ready for the next 3 months. So we have some assessment and repairs ongoing now for roads, sidewalks, and parks. We intend for those works to begin in late April and carry on into the summertime. An additional project will be the rapid infiltration basin. So that's right in the vicinity of Pine Street. So there's the 5 settling ponds there adjacent to the river. So they were heavily damaged during the floods with a lot of silt and material that were moved and deposited there. So we have, right now we're finishing up some sampling programs to determine if any of those soils are contaminated so that we can remove them. And then we'll be reestablishing those basins. That work's planned to start in mid-April and will likely be about a month to a month and a half of work. So it's a little bit further out. We're currently in the planning, design and tendering phase, and we'll kick into construction phase in about a month and a half. And then finally, for some of the longer term works, we're conducting a disaster mitigation and adaptation study. So this will be to gather some of the surveyed data, including the new riverbank data, just essentially where we are post or after the flooding, to assess the projected river flows into the future, and then to use that information to build a resilient, essentially a design for the river channel and for the city itself related to the river, to make it essentially to mitigate any sort of future disasters and or flooding. The timelines for that particular study will be information gathering, some community engagement over the next months, with that plan put together kind of mid-year and then submitted for infrastructure funding. And we'll find out more about whether that was successful towards the end of this year. And then finally, the other big long lead item is that bridge design for the replacement of the Middleborough Bridge. So there will be essentially ongoing assessment to determine what to replace that with and when, and then it would be moving on to essentially tender and construction. But that we wouldn't expect to see anything really there for replacement in the near term. That would be towards the end of this year, 2022, or into 2023. So those are the categories of projects and a few of the projects that our team is working to deliver on behalf of the town and on behalf of the citizens of Merritt. We're again pleased to be doing this work, and yeah, just looking forward to being able to execute a couple more of these projects and get everybody back home. So thank you for your time. Thanks for the opportunity.
Don't go anywhere just yet, Darcy. Surprise question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for you later, but I just wanted, there was a bunch of questions in the last week that we saw about river dredging. Can you address, like, a lot of the projects you're talking about right now are very complex. They involve multiple levels of government, environmental impacts, studies, applications, funding being one of the big challenges. So your work isn't just as simple as, yes, we'll do that. But can you just maybe quickly address the question that we've seen a few times about why don't we just dredge the rivers? And then don't go anywhere, because we have questions for you after. But yeah, if you can do the river dredging one now, I would appreciate that.
Sure, sounds good. We'll talk about river dredging. So like Ben alluded to, there's a number of kind of factors to consider. So river dredging is essentially making the channel deeper, sometimes called bed load removal. So all of these gravels that come down when there's a big flood event, these gravels will wash down with the high water, and it essentially deposits all of this material into the river channel itself. So what that does is it makes the river wider because it's eroding the banks, but it's also less deep. So one of the mitigative solutions is, instead of building dikes higher, you could essentially remove those gravels and those materials to make the channel deeper so that all of the water fits into a narrower band. So that is certainly an alternative, and I think in some places it will be appropriate, but balancing environmental kind of considerations, the long-term, what the best long-term solution is, maintenance, ongoing maintenance, these are all kind of factors that will need to be considered. So I would say that it is certainly being considered in some locations, and in some locations I think it'll be a combination of the three. So building potentially either taller dikes, having setback dikes that are set back further from the river itself, and perhaps a combination of this dredging or bed load removal. So I hope that sheds a little bit more light on the matter, Ben.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thanks. Because I know a few people have been asking, why don't we just do that? And it's good to know it's on the table and being considered, but also knowing that there's a lot of other considerations that have to go into play on that topic matter. Thanks very much. I think it's also important to note that your work, Darcy, infrastructure, is all about the big pieces that support the community, but certainly doesn't take away the importance of the community. So I just want to shift now to talking about the community supports that we have in place, what's being done to support the community. And there's no better person for that than Linda Brick. So Linda, if you can kind of talk to us about the Merritt Support Center and what's happening with your team as it relates to community supports.
Thank you so much, Ben. I'm very excited to talk about this. It's one of my favorite topics these days. There's a lot of things that are going on here at the Merritt Support Center. And tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about the community navigators, volunteer organizations, and we are also going to be doing a call for volunteers. So those are the top three things that are top of mind here for me. Community navigators. We have case managers that are here on site that are working to connect with everyone who we have contact information for. But we also recognize that there's people that we haven't connected with yet that we really want to connect with, because we want to make sure that everybody understands what the supports are that are available to them, and we just want to check in to see how everybody is doing. This is an overwhelming process for many people and a huge event, so we want to see how you're doing. So we have community navigators that are going to come on board, and what they're going to do is they're going to go door to door in the flood inundated areas and knock on doors to make sure that all the people that we haven't connected with, that we start connecting with. So that you're going to have people coming around in your neighborhood talking to you soon. So that is one of the things that we are definitely doing that's going to be happening, and we're quite excited about. Another thing that we are excited about that's happening is we've had lots of conversations with volunteer organizations that want to come back to the community to help out with the rebuilding process and cleaning up mud from people's yards, people's basements. And we are in the process right now of talking with organizations such as Samaritan's Purse, ADRA, and Team Rubicon, and making plans to have them back in the community. So any residents who we haven't connected with yet, please call us or come in and let us know that you need this help. So if we know that you need the help, then we'll be able to connect you with it. I've got the telephone number up on the screen here. It's 1-877-655-0341. We're open from 9 to 4 daily, and we're located at 102 1700 Garcia Street. That's in the Rail Yard Mall. So please come talk to us, grab a cup of coffee, and connect with us and see how we can support you. What we're also looking for is for volunteers. So there's many people in this community that were impacted. We evacuated the entire city. There's about 900 people that are still out, but that means that there is over 7,000 people, about 7,000 people or close to, that are back in their homes. And we're hoping that some of those residents are willing to come out and support their neighbors and come and volunteer, whether it's mucking out basements. I know many people already have, but if people are interested in coming and digging up people's yards and helping to clean up and make this effort go a little bit smoother for some people, that would be great. On our home.merritt.ca website, we have a call for volunteers button. Let me see if I can get that up here. So the volunteer your help. So if you are interested in helping, please come to our website and click on Volunteer Your Help and let us know how you can help us help the neighbors. So those are the big things that I have that I can report out on in this information session. Let's see if I can get my screen back up here. There we go. So thank you so much, Ben. That's everything that I've got for tonight.
Great, thanks, Linda. So again, just also to connect with the support center, visiting home.merritt.ca, there's also a contact form on that page that you can simply fill out, which will go to the support center, which helps identify what type of support people need, and then that your team will connect with them too. So there's lots of ways for people to connect with the support center, either by calling you, stopping by the support center daily, filling out the form, or emailing returnhome@merritt.ca. So lots of ways to connect with the support center in Merritt. You brought up housing, which is top of mind for so many people, I know. And I know there's a lot of work and a lot of options for what Merritt can be doing with housing. And there's one guy that has been working tirelessly. I know there's been feels like a bazillion different options that have been brought forward, for consideration. And so, Andrew, if you wouldn't mind talking us through the housing options, where you're at with housing, and what that's looking like currently.
Yeah, thanks, Ben, and good evening, Merritt. I just wanted to go through all of the initiatives that our team's working on, and recognizing, of course, that we had a housing crisis before the floods, and the flood has only deteriorated this much further. So thank you for all of the people who've participated in surveys. Our estimates right now are looking like we're roughly 100 homes lost, with roughly 57 of these being mobile homes, and the remaining being single detached. And so our goal is to bring 100 new homes into Merritt in the coming months. I'm just going to share my screen here. We've developed a map with our potential sites that we've been looking at. Originally, this was 25 locations. We've dwindled it down to 6. Our first priority was, of course, temporary short-term housing. Site 1 and 2 were considered for this type of housing. Our first attempt was to bring in an oil field style camp onto either of these sites. They were ideal because they're near downtown and close to the impacted area where evacuees could not only be back in Merritt but close to their homes. Unfortunately, this proposal was unsuccessful in funding from the province. Our second initiative, which I believe is a few residents have already taken advantage of, and I would encourage a lot more of this, is renting RVs and campers, bringing them onto your properties, living on your lots while you can work on your homes, live in your neighborhood. For people who don't have that option, the Diamond Vale Mobile Home Trailer Park can also handle about 80 of these units. So there's lots of room there. And I will have to keep stressing this, of course, working with your case managers and coming up with that personalized support. So you can, we've provided them with the contact information to make reservations if you'd like to take advantage of this. But it is through the case managers that you'll receive those supports. Maybe I'll just bring that map back up here again. Site 3, this has been an exciting partnership that we've entered into with the University of British Columbia. Our goal is to use a 3D printer that can produce homes about 600 square feet in size. So they would be classified as a tiny home. The printer is able to produce these homes at a rate of about 1 every 48 hours using just the printer and a crew of 2 to 3 people. It's a very exciting partnership. It's newer technology. They meet a lot of the checkbox with the national housing strategies, including being net zero buildings. So we can build these to have very high insulation, supplementing energy through solar panels, all of the green initiatives that is being pushed by the federal government. We can hit a lot of these targets, and therefore there's a lot of grant funding. If you're curious about learning more about the technology, you can search for 3D printed Airbnb in Nelson. And yeah, I'd encourage you to check it out. We're very excited to bring this to Merritt. We're hoping to do 18 to 20 homes, and we're hoping to have them done this year. So there's a lot of work to get from here to there, but we're optimistic and we're excited to do this. Site 4 is currently being reviewed by the city. That'll be presented to council on next Tuesday, so stay tuned for that one. Site 5, this site was selected as a potential new neighborhood in Merritt. It started development roughly 8 years ago. So it's got water, sewer, natural gas. So the setup of this site could be accelerated because of that. We are working with modular home builders to work with the landowners and to try to bring the province to the table in negotiating how we can bring online roughly 40 homes in this neighborhood. A few of the suppliers that I've talked to, there's some big claims that they're saying they can produce homes at a rate of 60 to 80 a month. So we're hoping that we can get something started this summer and have more homes in Merritt on that lot. Finally, Site 6 is the Diamond Vale Trailer Park. Currently has 41 sites available, and it would go a long way to replacing or adding to the Merritt inventory of the 57 mobile homes that were lost in the floods. So very similar to Site 5, we're trying to coordinate the different parties to get together, and including the province, and trying to get funding and all of that so we can get these projects off the ground in Site 5 and 6. So if you're doing the math in my speech here, there's about 100 homes there that we're looking to bring online in this short time frame, if possible. The final considerations that are not on the map that I just wanted to bring forward, we've looked at a lot of options throughout the city. We recognize that there's apartment buildings that were also lost and are still uninhabited within the city. 410 Walters is scheduled to be completed this summer, so that's the one up on the hill by the Quality Inn, Royal LePage area. And then there's also the Plus 55 building on Kilchenna, which is going to be managed by Ask Wellness. That is going to be completed this year. So we do have new apartments coming online in the city. We recognize that this style of building has been impacted, and we have looked at solutions. We certainly couldn't build them faster than what's already been developed. And we also want to be mindful not to undermine the existing structures and the value of those structures and the work that they're trying to do. So another question that's been brought up, and another good suggestion, is laneway or carriage homes on properties. Once again, we are trying to get some funding just to push this forward a little bit to make it a little bit more attractive, but recognize that a lot of the city is actually zoned R2, and so work with development services if you're interested in building one of these structures, additional rental income on your property. There's obviously bylaw considerations and all of that, but if you are R2 zone, this is a very feasible solution for most people who have the means to put up these structures, and would go a long way to helping our rental market. And then just a final note, please keep working with your case managers for your personalized needs, and try to stay optimistic. More help's coming. For those who can contribute, I'd encourage you to look into the charities that are helping us. There's the Hell or High Water concert coming up. That's going to be a huge benefit to the community. We'll hear a lot more about that later. And we'll keep plugging away.
Thanks so much for that, Andrew. So it's really sounds like lots of options, looking at what's going to work best, combination of options. But really, these things just aren't going to happen tomorrow. There's processes and things that we need to consider, and funding and all of that type of stuff. So what I'm hearing is, like, I don't know if there's any more rocks you could turn over to try to find an option or a solution. Also giving consideration, I think you pointed out before the flood, Merritt, certainly in a very difficult vacancy position. And so post flood, I mean, certainly that just compounded the whole housing situation. And so I'm appreciative of all the work you're doing and looking at all of these different options. I had a question for you later, but I think I'll just ask it now because you kind of brought it up. So as you know, we did ask community to send in their questions. And so one question that we had has said, has the city considered looking at some changes to bylaws to help with managing the housing crisis? So why not allow mobile homes on properties or tiny homes or maybe even lane houses? And I heard you in your presentation talk about lane houses, tiny homes, RVs, and that sort of thing. So the question is specific to changing of bylaws. So I don't know if you can address that in some way.
Yeah, we're certainly looking at bylaws and making sure that that we keep the best interests of the city in mind. Once again, there's a lot of existing zoning bylaws that allow for carriage or laneway homes, and so again, I would encourage you to work with building services to find something that works on your lot. There's obviously a lot of considerations based on the size of lot and all of that sort of stuff. The mobile homes, there are lots available. Existing mobile home parks are getting rebuilt. As Darcy pointed out, there's a lot of dike work to protect those further in the future. So there are things available on the mobile home parks existing, or the one Diamond Vale has room. And so I would encourage you to look into those options as well. Did I answer the questions, Ben?
I think so, yeah, but I also noticed our CAO has a question. So, Sean?
Thanks, Ben, and thanks, Andrew. I just wanted to add very briefly that anybody that hasn't had an opportunity to check out our most recent zoning bylaw, which was updated in 2020, do take a look at it, because it is much more flexible for exactly the types of housing that are being considered. So a lot more viability for smaller footprint homes like tiny homes, laneway houses, and carriage homes are options, whereas they didn't used to be. So if you haven't had the opportunity to check out our zoning bylaw updates, Andrew gave you the best advice. Talk with development services, or if you're savvy enough to find your way through it yourself, you're free to try. But there is a lot more option there. So don't base it on what you think you knew the answer was 5 years ago, because there's a very good chance that answer has changed. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, sir. So a lot of what we've heard so far as it relates to infrastructure and housing have a lot to do with a lot of considerations on the environmental impact and that sort of thing. So Rick, you've been doing a lot of work on environment. A lot of people have been asking about the silt and the sand and the mud and the muck, and that has been a big undertaking for you to figure out. So, Rick, if you could give us an update on the environmental aspects of the flood and what you've been working on to help get that stuff out of here and what you're focused on next.
Yep. Thanks, Ben. And thanks, everybody, for the opportunity to talk about the environmental projects we're working on. I'll go back to right after the first event. The city did some amazing things. I've joined a little bit later on, but just looking at what was done initially, the sewage treatment plant, it came back online in 7 days. It's met the permit conditions since that time, and the quality of the effluent that's being discharged is meets every standard that's out there. So getting it back on in 7 days is a remarkable achievement for the operators and the city. The second one is the drinking water. Same thing. In 2 weeks, the water was back. Supplies were back up. The city's done. I think I got a number here of like 275 tests have been done on the water supply since the event, and all those samples have met the drinking water standards for potable use as in the public here. So again, an amazing achievement by the city staff to get all that done, and even talking with the Ministry of Environment or the health authorities who regulate that, they are amazed at the speed and the professional quality that was done to get these things online. There's other communities that lag behind these numbers by a long shot. I mean, it was remarkable. So I just want to mention those two things before I get into some of the things we're doing today. You asked about the mud and soils. That project started, I think, quite like almost immediately after the event, and there's a lot of materials that were collected, and it's mostly been stockpiled up at the Airport Road line facility there. There was piles, generated along the side of the curbs, and collection was picking them up and moving them up the hill to the impoundment area there. That pile's gotten quite big, and that facility is pretty much full. We've been able to do samples and determine that soil is actually very clean. We haven't seen any contaminations that would restrict its use to be sent back to clean fill or used in those types of ways. So the material is kind of fine and silty and doesn't allow very good compaction. So using it as a fill material isn't that appropriate, but we are able to take it to landfill, used as a daily cover. So use it as a product at the landfills to just cover the garbage piles on a daily basis, or at the mine sites just to recover some of the waste rocks and that. So those are the options that we're looking at. And to tell you just to let everybody know that actually started happening today. So we've got trucks rolling out of that pile to reuse areas around outside of town, but around the area here. So that's good news. The soil's being moved off. Samples I've seen have been very, very clean. The source is from all across the whole city. So, the questions I've been asked about, well, is the soil contaminated on my property? We haven't seen any results that would indicate that there's been a spread of contamination across the city as a result of the waters that have moved across the city. There's been a couple instances where, like, a localized fuel source at a property caused minor contamination on that property, as well as Darcy had mentioned the infiltration basins for the sewage system. The bulk of that material is actually clean. We've tested it, and it's pretty much clean. There was a couple questionable samples for chloride that we're trying to just delineate the amount of material that might be contaminated, or even if it's an actual valid result. So we're working on that, but even 90% of the material that's in those basins has been tested as clean. So we're really not seeing contamination across the city from the result of this event, which is really good news. Talking about the soil material that's been deposited across the properties and things like that. People have been moving it out of their basements and off their yards and placing it at the curbside, and the city's got the contractor coming around and collecting that and moving it up to the soil storage facility, and that's going to continue. We've received approval for funding to continue that for the foreseeable future. So that's the message to people is, as you're cleaning your yard, your basement, it can still go to the curbside. There'll still be a collection process for that. Be patient with us. It might not be removed that day, but there is a crew that are going around the area and collecting it on a regular cycle. So we will get to it and remove it. The other part I really want to emphasize about that soil is it needs to be clean soil. Please don't mix it with demolition debris or other household debris or stuff like that. The places that I can take it to for a reasonable cost wouldn't be available if it was mixed with other types of demolition debris or stuff like that. So please keep those two separate. And I'll talk about the demolition debris here in a second, but just to let everybody know that soil can go to the curbside. We are collecting it. what Linda was saying about, volunteers to help you clean if needed, please definitely talk to the support center and register, get on that list and get the supports you need to get that material off your property. Speaking with the demolition type of waste, that collection process has been around and working for many months now, and that'll continue. So anybody who's been repairing a house or damaged contents and stuff like that, placing it at the curbside, that curbside collection is still going on. There's funding for that until the end of April, I believe. And so we can continue to keep that going until the end of April. After that, I don't know whether we will continue to receive funding. It's not a 100% guarantee that'll happen. So what I do encourage anybody is, if you are going to be doing any repairs in your house or cleaning out damaged household goods or whatever, try and make sure you get it done before the end of April, because we know we have the funding, we know we have the process in place to remove that material and get it to the landfill. After that, we don't know, and I really don't want to see that become a problem for people that haven't had that done before then. The other thing to mention is for like a full demolition of a house, we don't have any funding exemption or whatever for the tipping fee and the disposal of those full house demolitions at the landfill. So when you get your demolition permit from the city, there'll be some other guidance documents that'll be provided to you to explain what you need to do for ensuring that the property you had either did or didn't contain asbestos, what the tipping fees are, and how to get that material to the landfill for disposal. So it's unfortunate that we weren't able to get that approval in place, but full properties, we can't eliminate the tipping fees for that for the public. Along with the debris, Darcy had mentioned that the removal of the Middleborough Bridge was occurring. Other parts of that same project are actually removal of debris along the whole river system. So that would include both the Nicola and the Coldwater. And so any debris that was brought into the river from houses or buildings or came out of a shed or whatever, any of the man-made debris that's on there, there's actually crews that are going to be patrolling the rivers and collecting and removing all that material. So that you may start seeing that happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks on different stretches of the river. So there is going to be a fairly rigorous and detailed removal of anything that's in the river, and that anything from debris from a house or ladders and garbage cans and everything else I've seen strewn along the river. So that's happening as well. The other thing I'd like to just mention is that this material, once it dries, it gets very dusty. And so we actually have an enhanced street sweeping program starting, where we're going to be going through the flood affected areas and getting those streets swept as soon as possible, so that either through wind or vehicle traffic, we're not going to see large volumes of dust created. It's a slow process, and with the way the weather is moving, between freezing and thaw and better days, it's difficult to get it all done because it is a wet sweeping process, and so we have to have warmer days to be able to do that. But just wanted to let everybody know that is actually it has begun, and it will continue through this spring drying season. The last thing I just want to talk about is that as part of the overall monitoring of the area, the Ministry of Environment actually, in consultation with the city, have actually placed a mobile air monitoring trailer in town here. It started monitoring, I think, last week, And so we're going to see in real time the dust fall particulate level in Merritt. So we'll see both the very fine and particulate, as well as the medium-sized particulate, will be monitored, and we'll be able to see, if our sweeping and cleaning processes are achieving the goals of keeping the dust and the air quality down. So we'll be able to measure and see how the performance is going with that, and that also ties into, I think, some other plans for the city for understanding the airshed for future development and stuff like that. So those are the things that are going on from the environmental side. I thank everybody for their patience, and from my perspective, I think there isn't a lot of environmental problems that were caused as a result of the atmospheric event. So thank you.
Thanks, Rick, and I just want to hear it again. You're moving that dirt. The dirt, it's being moved.
Yeah, it's probably going a little bit slower than I'd like, just because trying to find enough trucks to hire right now with all the other large construction projects that are going on in the area is very difficult. So I'd actually put it out there. If somebody has a gravel truck and they're willing to work for me, please call us.
And if I'm a citizen in Merritt who's cleaning up all that mud and gunk, do I put it in a bag and put it on what do I do with it, Rick, so that it gets picked up?
Thanks. Actually, leaving it in a pile without, outside of a bag is the preferred way. If it has plastics and other material that's being collected, that'd prohibit what I can do for disposal. It'll become much more costly, separation, and it'd just be more complex, and it would actually cost more for us, as well as it would slow down the whole process. So just wheelbarrow out to the curb, put it on the curbside, and we'll come get it.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also noticed Ray Crompton from the province of BC has joined us tonight. And Ray, is there anything you can add to the conversation or the information that's being shared tonight?
Yes. Thank you, Ben, and thanks, folks. Just that the province continues to seek opportunities to fund interim housing in the community. I get it that the desire here is flow-through funding for the city to be able to implement the prefab home option, which I think is an awesome bit of work by the recovery crew and by Andrew there. So stay tuned for more on that. Still continuing to work there. We are continuing to work with the CAO, the staff, and the recovery manager, Greg, on unmet needs. And I understand that just recently the armoring of what's left of the Middleborough Bridge it has been approved. So there'll be some rip-wrapping there just to avoid further undermining and erosion of the abutments to that bridge. And I'm open to any questions that folks might have.
Thanks, Ray. I appreciate that. So you talked about looking at flow-through funding for the interim housing, and that's great. In the interim, so many folks here in Merritt are relying on the Red Cross, and I know there's some questions coming up about Red Cross, what's happening, and so Emily from the Canadian Red Cross has also joined us tonight just to share with us the Red Cross, where the Red Cross is at, and what we can be looking to the Red Cross to for ongoing support. So Emily.
Hi there, thanks for having me. So I'll just quickly go through a really, really quick deck that we have that I think some of you have probably seen before. It's just loading here. So the Red Cross, I think everyone knows that we have been in community. We are in community right now. We are at the Resiliency Center, at the Support Center. We have been for a few weeks now, and that's being kind of well received. And so we'll just go through a little bit more of the detail of what we can provide. But just first, I want to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit tonight. So thank you for having me. The work that we're doing in Merritt, as well as other flood impacted areas, is just providing personalized recovery support. That means, matching people up with a case manager to talk through what their needs are, what the gaps are that they have, what their immediate kind of supports are that they're needing, what other systems they may have in place, and provide sort of that recovery planning support. You can access a case manager a multitude of ways. So as I said, we're in person at the support center right now. You can also give us a call. You can do a Zoom chat with us any which way you want. It doesn't mean that if you've contacted us by phone, you can't just drop by, or you can't say that I want a Zoom call now. You can do whichever one you prefer. And so what we're doing in the support center is really just making sure people have time and space to talk to us in person if that's what they'd like to do, ask questions, ask how they can get supports, and then connect people in with other local organizations as well that are around. Personalized recovery supports. Some of the things that means, like what does that mean, is connecting you with, for sure, support around interim housing and different basic needs support, but also kind of working with you to figure out what's your medium-term plan, long-term plan. It's okay if you don't have a plan, your short-term goals. What do you want to try and move forward? How can we help you with, we can work with you on, submitting permit applications. I do just want to flag that today is the deadline for DFA, I believe. And so just a reminder for people, if you haven't submitted that application, just to go in and hit that submit button. You don't have to have everything with you, but just to submit it today. And if you need help collecting the documents for DFA, we can certainly help you kind of work through that and navigate through that. We recognize there's like a lot of different documents that are required. So your case managers are certainly happy to do that with you. And then housing repair construction, for those of you that have kind of moved to this stage or ready to move to this stage, it's looking at what supports do you have in place? If you did have insurance, some people did. What's your insurance covering up to? How can we help to kind of fill those gaps? And again, it's really personalized, and so it really depends on your unique situation. So again, it's accessing all of that support through your case manager. I spoke to this a little bit already, but I just want to kind of reiterate that we're here for the long term, right? So there's been a really heavy focus, understandably, on what's happening right now and making sure people have that housing piece kind of, covered off and have somewhere to stay right now. I mean, the city's doing really amazing work to find some long-term solutions, but the Red Cross is also here for the long term. So know that we're not going anywhere. We're here with you throughout this journey. We know it's really you're not sure what it's going to look like, but we're here every step of the way and to sit alongside you as much as possible. So we can connect you again with those supports, with mental health referrals, if that's what you're feeling like you need, with other agencies. I know there's lots of work being done with other community groups that were mentioned earlier in the presentation, Team Rubicon and others. So we can certainly connect you with them if you're not sure how to reach out. So that's some of the work that we are doing now and that we will continue to do for the long term. And then just in terms of how you can connect with us, if you're not sure how, so you can call us, you can come by in person, or you can send us an email. And so you have to go through one of those to book an appointment, and then you'll be, meet with your case manager. If you've already met with your case manager and you want to meet with them again, you just have to reach back out in one of those 3 ways to reconnect with them and do a follow-up. And that's it for me.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Rachel, and I've heard it a few times. And this question is saying, at the end of March is when support runs out. I'm still in a hotel with nowhere to go. What happens to us then? And I'm going to answer the question for you, because what I'm hearing is you're in this for the long haul. You're here. You're providing support. There is no cookie cutter. There is no ABC. You are here to work with individuals, to understand their unique needs and to work with them through those needs. And at the end of the day, what's most important is that those people contact their Red Cross support worker to talk through what those needs are, and that you will find a way to help them in the best way possible for the Red Cross and for them. Does Did I summarize that okay?
Yeah, that's very well said, Ben. Yeah, and I think it's that support doesn't run out, right? It's that support just starts to look maybe a little bit different. We start to get more into what your personalized needs are, what your plan is if you have a plan. I know some homeowners have started to do repairs, have started to do that mucking out, the debris removal, all of those things. And so talk to your case managers about that if you're looking for some help with that or are not even sure where to begin. Our role is really to help navigate kind of this journey that's sort of in front of you and, and making sure that your basic needs are met throughout that.
Awesome. Okay, so end of the Red Cross discussion. Have a discussion with your case manager, talk through it. You're here. Don't panic about what you're hearing in the misinformation or disinformation phase of whatever we hear on Facebook. Contact your case manager and the Red Cross has got your back.
Yeah, and come see us in person if that's the easiest way for you to, if you haven't reached out, we know not everyone has, please reach out. It's hard, and I think we talked about this earlier in the session, it's hard for us to find you if you don't reach out to us. So we're really happy to help. So please come find us whichever way is best for you. Awesome.
Thanks for popping in and sharing that today. I do have a few questions for some other folks, and then we have a special guest, Greg Gerard. I'll come to you after the questions. I know we're are almost at our hour, but that's just a good sign that there's lots of information. So we'll just keep plowing through. So let me toss out a few questions. Then we'll go to Mr. Gerard, and then we'll come back to the mayor to close tonight's information session. So Greg Selecki, I just want to ask you this one. This is one of the questions we got. What does the city suggest people do if they can't get a letter proving that gas and electric work was completed and checked by a professional? These are important to having the evacuation order removed. And they're saying we're extremely hesitant to rebuild our basement, our yard fence, replace doors until we have some answers from the city about those letters proving that the electrical work was completed. So any thoughts on that, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of questions in there as well. First off, just as we've been saying for a long time now, do not wait to do any repairs to your home, whatever that looks like. Hopefully people have gone through the DFA, the Disaster Financial Assistance Program, where they may recoup some costs there. Either way, as long as they keep all their receipts, all the information, document what they've done, then go ahead and make your home as livable as you can right now. Do not wait. Yes, I understand. And I think we were talking about this today, our team as well. There's a resource capabilities management issue here, meaning we want to get everything done right away. But even as Rick mentioned, we want to move dirt. There aren't enough trucks around right now to move the dirt quickly enough. There may not be enough inspectors around, whether that's an engineer or a gas inspector, electrical inspector, to come in and do your house as quickly as maybe you'd like it to be done and checked and looked over and then inspected and providing you with the information. That being said, back to the support center, just like the Red Cross mentioned, they're not going away. We're not going away. It might look different as time goes on, but we're here to advocate for everybody in the city. So if there's something you need, even in that realm where you need an inspector, the support center can provide you with an avenue to move forward. And if the answer isn't there right at the moment, we can help find that, and we can help consider sourcing that at some point. So, and help point you in the right direction. So any of those types of needs that are required from anything from people, needing the Red Cross, people needing other health and wellness supports, or people needing a way to go or a place to go to find some help and find some of those resources like inspectors, we will advocate. And as time goes on, we're envisioning that there would be a community advocate in place because this isn't going to be, and even Darcy mentioned, right, that a lot of this is going to take months, if not years, to repair. And same with some of the folks that some of their needs might take a little longer. So that's the place to go, and we'll collect that information, and we'll take what we hear and do our best to help you with that.
Great, thank you for that, Greg. Darcy, our infrastructure guy. Question is for you, Darcy. Is there a reason that the Vote Street Bridge is necessary? Can the future of Collettville and its development exist with two bridges until a later date? Or should the Vote Street Bridge be replaced now with the money that's available? And is the city willing to assure all those on the floodplain that the dikes will be built and maintained for the long-time future of Merritt? I don't know if that was too much. Going to need me to repeat it?
Sure. No, that's fine. Ben, good question about the bridge. I guess one thing I would say is it is always good to challenge kind of standard assumptions. Just because the bridge got washed out, does it necessarily need to be replaced? One of the first steps that we're doing for that bridge is to conduct an assessment, essentially, of what we have that's remaining and what a replacement bridge, what it would look like if it's 2 lanes, separated biking lane, etc. Look at the costing, and then we would assess it. I think some of the advantages for rebuilding that bridge, and I certainly think that is the current position, is that bridge is intended to be rebuilt, is the connectivity to the downtown core for schools, for walking, especially for residents in that area. The children, for example, can walk directly to schools, and finally, it's a big part of the future active transportation network, along with the future planned walking path along the Coldwater River. So there's a couple of reasons why I think that bridge is important, but certainly when we go through this assessment phase to evaluate options, that would certainly be considered. So I think that answers the bridge question. So there's still some things up in the air, and we're conducting our assessment and evaluations, and we'll go through the various steps with both the local interest groups as well as with the province for rebuilding and what is actually rebuilt. And then secondly, just in terms of dikes, the final design for what the dikes and where the dikes will actually be, that's not or has not yet been determined. We're doing that mitigation and adaptation assessment to see where the dikes should go, what amount of dredging or bed load removal should be done, and then what sort of setbacks need to be obtained for the purpose of protecting the town for future events, as well as just to allow really the basin to be more resilient. So once that's determined where the dikes will go and what they'll look like, they most certainly will be maintained into the future. So I hope that answers the questions, and I'm free for any others or for clarifications as well if required.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Darcy. And I think you just talked about protection and the diking system, and that's a great lead-in question for Rick. And Rick, I don't know if you have the answers to this, but somebody has said here that they would like to address the warning time that they had on November 15th, 2021, which was basically none. They want to know, is there a plan that can give people more warning so they can protect their properties? The riverbank that's by their house remains untouched. And so, like, will there be sandbag stations being made available? I think maybe, the idea of flooding is on people's mind again as we move into spring. Rick, the question is for you, but I see CAO Sean Smith has his hand up, so maybe Sean is poised to answer that question.
Let him go.
Rick, I'm happy to have you contribute anything you want on this front. First, I really do want residents to know that as we're coming into freshet, despite the fact we're as content as we can be with what we're seeing in terms of snowpack conditions, we're absolutely being very, very cautious in our approach to freshet this year. We've been in contact with the province about a number of different strategies that would include sandbag deployment, exactly as you're saying, and then constant monitoring of those stations to make sure that we're going to be in a good place coming into freshet. I can say that because of the temporary works that are in place for most of the lowest lying regions on the Coldwater River still, we're in a better spot coming into Freshette than we've been historically. That being said, we're not taking anything for granted on that front. In terms of the notice for the event itself, I couldn't agree more with residents. If there's one thing that we've talked about a whole lot with the province, aside from funding and some of these other initiatives, it is about how we can improve for the future to make sure that we as a city get as much notice as possible so that we can in turn provide you with as much notice as possible. We recognize that while I will unequivocally say we did the very best we could, and I'm actually very proud of the city's response during that because of what we had for notice. As a team, and when I say that, I mean the city and the province, we need to do better. We need to have more advance notice and advance warning so that we can provide you with that opportunity to, if possible, prepare your properties, but if not possible, get people out safely. There was a lot of scary moments during that night. There were rescues that we are all very thankful that the situation wasn't worse, and really want to let residents know that we are working closely with the province to raise some of those concerns and address the bigger challenges about what can be done to make sure that that notice will happen earlier. And I've been very happy to see that the support from the province has been there on those items, and Ray will probably speak to it, but folks are getting hired and development departments are getting built out to support just that.
Yeah, you took half my thunder, Sean, and couldn't agree with you more that yes, we do need to get better at predicting something we would have considered to be unpredictable before, an atmospheric river event that would cause this type of devastation. I don't know what you pegged it at, Sean, but I heard you say something about a 1 in 1,000 year event, let alone a 1 in 200. Just not prepared for that. And this is something that we simply have to be prepared for in the future. And you leaked a little bit from the new budget that was just announced a couple of weeks ago, funding for the River Forecast Center to put in more monitoring, more climate data analysis sort of stuff in real time, so that we can get better at predicting these things. But I'm not going to lie to you, predicting an atmospheric river in November is something we have not a lot of experience in, and something that we're going to have to get better at doing. So there'll be some dollars and smart people and effort put into that. It will also benefit, the preparation for Freshette. We have a lot of automated snow pillows and forecasting mechanisms, hydrographs on the rivers to chart when they start to rise, snowpack starts to melt. But even more data in that regard to help set us up for future Freshettes as well.
Thank you for that, both. Did you have anything to add into that, Rick?
Yeah, I've sat in on some of those calls, and I can definitely say that this has gotten a lot of attention, and it's something in terms of pre-planning and preparedness is definitely at the forefront of most of these discussions. The other part that I'd like to really mention is that there are some really good alerting systems for the public, and I've seen them starting to come online, especially last year with the fire system, Buoyant, and some other systems where citizens can actually log or register themselves and get alertings and stuff like that. So instead of having somebody knock door to door, there's some systems out there that are starting to become very good that can do almost the alerting, either that you get through the cell phone for a yellow alert and things like that. So those are things that I mention, and it's something that I think every community should be looking to look at, and it worked really well. TNRD and city accountants have started it, and I think there's a lot of traction to start looking at those types of things, which would help the citizens get alerted and not just get the knock on the door at 3 a.m. type of thing.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I also just want to make sure we bash through and we have 2 more quick questions, and then we want to hear from Greg real quick, and then we'll come back to the mayor. Linda, somebody just asked here, I own a mobile home and it's in an area that has been hit hard. They have no water, gas, or sewer hookups under their home, as it was all taken out by the flood. And of course, the ground is unlevel and it's shifting all the time. They're wondering, is the landlord responsible for getting these utilities hooked up, or is it their responsibility? And is the landlord responsible for leveling the ground or getting it built back up again, or is it on the renter? Any insight on that? Because that sounds like certainly a challenging situation.
It definitely does, Ben. We've heard this, that there's so many challenges after this event. And as the land the mobile home sits on, it's on private property. So the decision to remediate the land, it's going to lie with the owner of the property. The Manufactured Home Park Tenancy Act is one place that I would direct anyone to who is in this sort of a situation, or to their occupancy agreement, so the agreement that they have with the landowner, because it's two people who own private property that are trying to navigate this process together. So they might be able to provide guidance from the residential tenancy program, and they might be able to get mediation through them to kind of find a solution to this problem between the two of them. The city's endeavor to ensure that the connections for water and sewer are restored to their pre-flood conditions where it's possible at the property lines, and the city really respects and wants to maintain the private property owner rights as well. So that's another piece of this. And it would be my advice that they talk to the residential tenancy branch to get some mediation on this between the property owner and the renter on the property. Thank you, Ben.
And at the end of the day, if you need help navigating that, come see you at the support center, right?
Absolutely.
To help make those connections. So that's great. The last question we had was, and I think, Andrew, you brought it up about get an RV and park it on your property. And somebody was just asking, like, is Bylaw going to harass us if we're there, or is there a process involved if that's an option? And I think we'll just address it real quick and just say that contact the support center, right? And figure out what's going to work best for you. So contact your caseworker, contact the support center, and the city manager did suggest that the bylaws have been updated. Anything you can add to that real quick, Andrew?
Just if you're parking on your own property, you're good. You're allowed to do that. If you are parking on the street, that does require an approval, which is mostly a consent from your neighbors to do so. And if neither of those options are available to you, again, work with your case manager. There are sites available in the Diamond Vale Mobile Home Park, and we might be able to get you set up on a lot there temporarily. So there are 3 options there. So if you can't get it rated on your property, work with case managers if you need help navigating the other 2 processes, either getting an approval to park on the street, or we can try to find you a site.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Lots of great information tonight from the recovery team, from the Red Cross. Thanks, Ray Crompton, for joining us from the province. Also joining us tonight, Greg Gerard, and you've kind of got a project going in support of Merritt and those people that have been impacted by the flood. And if you can just tell us what you're up to, Greg, and then we'll go back to Mayor Brown to close tonight's session.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for the City of Merritt for the invitation tonight. And thank you to all of you viewers who are tuning in past the hour because you care about Merritt. There's a lot of people who are caring about Merritt. We know for a fact that Canadians care about Merritt, North Americans are caring about Merritt, and so are the world. We're putting on what's called the Hell or High Water fundraiser, and we're very proudly putting this together with Merritt as the key point and the focus with it. If you haven't heard, the Hell or High Water fundraiser is an effort, a 12-hour effort that we've been putting together and cashing in chips to put. And it runs through from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on March 13th. Throughout that 12 hours, we have over 100 artists from around the world. We have 100 artists, over 100 dignitaries, as well as we have locals from Merritt, Lytton, Abbotsford, and Princeton. And what we've done is we've combined the efforts of 4 communities which are working together. small communities. This is not a big project by a big city. These are 4 small communities that have big hearts and that are acting like big cities. What we've got with this is with these, we have over 50 different 100 artists. So some of the things that we're doing with those is with the artist is you're looking at it's a 2-part series. The first part from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. we'll have the artist, dignitaries. We have federal, provincial, regional dignitaries that will be speaking. And then we also have the locals. And through that first bit up to 7 o'clock, they'll each be putting out a personal message. So every artist that performs has put out a personal message in honor of the 4 communities, and some of them are very specific with what they stand for, and they are giving a personal message to the viewers to ask them to give if they can, and of course to share. So some of the artists with the telethon part that have contributed and that are coming on board through this 10-hour event, you're looking at some pretty high top of the line talent. Patricia Conroy, Beverly Mahood, Loverboy, Big and Rich, Chilliwack, David Gogo, and we have our own local favorite, Bobby Garcia, who'll be participating with that. And the 2-hour concert is going to be held at the Mission Theater, at the Clark Foundation Theater in Mission, British Columbia, and that will be a live event. And that event has a stellar lineup as well, with Tom Jackson, George Canyon, Aaron Pritchett, Karen Lee Batten, Lisa Brokaw, to name a few. With that live concert, the good news is, if you are unable to attend, it will be broadcast on social media channels, websites, and also we just got news that we'll be carrying it throughout the province on Shaw TV. So all 3 formats, all 3 platforms will be carrying the event from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on March 13th. Another interesting facet with the Hell or High Water is that this has never been done on this scale before. With the conditions we had to set this up for COVID, we had to apply that with Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. We've invited, with our concept of this Hell or High Water, is we have what's called a prize for donation. And on that system, you can put your donation into winning some of the really fantastic prizes. And some of the local Merritt people and organizations that have really stepped up. Rural LePage has put up a cottage getaway for 3 days. Sagebrush has a $3,000 golf package for 4. AP Guest Ranch, rental of a cottage in the backcountry. Travis Fair has put up a mountain bike from Breathe Bikes. And our top prize in that, if you go to the hellorhighwater.ca website, the top prize is an 8,000-piece commissioned artwork from a very famous Canadian portrait artist by the name of David Langevin. And we have other interesting things that tie into the Nicola Valley area: free tickets to Rocking River, Canuck Games, Calgary Games, Sunfest Festival on Vancouver Island, Calgary Stampede. So we have a very good lineup of ways that you can donate. You have an opportunity to give and get if you go through that sort of concept through that. Just finishing off, when we do go online, we have 11 influencers that will be participating on our social media channels while the show is going. So we have our Experience Nickel Valley bloggers will be on the Experience Nickel Valley. They'll be your favorite blogger, will be available through a 2-hour window. And that's also another thing that we have going on, is we've brought in some high-end influencers to complement the top-of-the-line prizing and the top-of-the-line artists. One of the last things I will say about this is that we've been very fortunate in the way that this has all come together for us. We had a professional broadcast studio have stepped up. It's the same people that do the Variety Club Telethon. We are going to ensure a very high quality show using their studio equipment, using their camera work, and they're also able to do a remote feed from the theater in Mission. The last but least is the celebrity host. Because of the safety protocols in place at the time, we did not know where we would be 3 months ago when this was discussed around a coffee table. We've decided that we brought in 5 remote celebrity guest hosts that will be hosting 2-hour portions of the event from remote locations. Amber Marshall of the CBC TV Heartland will be hosting for 2 hours. We have Shawneen Desjardins, who is APTN broadcast journalist, award-winning broadcast, and now in charge of Manitoba Music. We have our very own Roger White, who will be doing the 2-hour Merritt specific section. So Roger will be also coming on board, and there's also others. So what I would do to everyone, to make it really quick, we are very, very proud to be able to offer this. It says a lot for this community. There's a lot of people. We have Australian bands. We even have World Tourism Organization for Heritage and Culture is sending in a clip about countries that they've helped with disaster and recovery. So he's got a really effective, really informative clip. So I would like to say this one thing to the city of Merritt. You are very well loved. All the events you have done and hosted with class in the past are coming to fruition. People are stepping up. And I do encourage everyone to watch for 10 hours, because there's not going to be 1 minute there where you're not being praised for your resiliency, for your teamwork, for your positivity, and for your effort to move forward and not backwards. And I really encourage everyone to watch and hear how proud people are of our 4 communities coming together and put on a world-class event. And this class event is by 4 small communities. So we should be very proud of our efforts. And again, thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you for staying past the hour. And I look forward to seeing you all for 10 hours straight on March 13th.
It's amazing, Greg. Thanks so much. That's hellorhighwater.ca, a fundraiser event, telethon concert in support of 4 communities that have been impacted by flood and by fire this year. And of course, the city of Merritt being one of those cities that will potentially benefit from this event. Thanks so much, Greg. And without further ado, thank you so much for sticking past the hour. That was a lot of information, great questions. Let's just toss it to Mayor Brown for closing remarks.
Thank you, Ben. The impact from the November 2021 Coldwater River flood continues to impact many people in our communities still. Hundreds of people remain out of their homes, and several are still displaced away from Merritt. This has been heartbreaking. Since the flood, the team has been focused on efforts to support as many people as we can, with the goal of bringing everybody home as fast as we can. City and Council are grateful for the support for the many volunteer organizations, such as the Red Cross, Samaritan's Purse, Team Rubicon, but many other faith-based organizations and others as well, just way too many to list here. Our dedicated recovery operations team, established through the city, has been working proactively and hard behind the scenes, and they've been bringing many different plans and projects forward to the province for their consideration, and all that with the same goal of bringing people home as soon as we possibly can. I'd be remiss at this point if I didn't thank the team and the guest speakers for tonight's participation. We really do appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Despite everyone's best efforts, we've yet to see any commitment for provincial or federal funding to support the team's options for transitional housing initiatives. This has become our biggest and the most unacceptable obstacle. We continue to remind the government of the needs of our residents, and will continue to put pressure on the government to make the decision. Today alone, CAO Sean Smith and Recovery Manager Greg Selecki met with Minister Nathan Cullen, Municipal Affairs, and he told us that that our application was in Treasury Board. He couldn't give us a defined date, but our commitment is coming. That's all we have. We'll accept that for now. Having said that, we need your help. We need you to help us help you. We're asking if you're comfortable to share your story of loss, your story of frustration, your story of need. You can share your story in a written way and or ideally by creating a short 1 minute or less video. And we need this as soon as you possibly can, please. These stories will be compiled into one larger video that we intend to share with local and national media as well as the decision makers at both the provincial and federal levels of government. We need these decision makers to see the personal, heartfelt impact that this flooding event has had on the lives of you, our residents, who call Merritt home. If you are willing, please visit home.merritt.ca. If you don't have access to a computer or need help in putting a video together, we ask that you visit the Merritt Support Center for assistance in sharing your story. And again, the Merritt Support Center is located in the Railway Mall, and they're open from 9 to 4 daily. I repeat, visit our website at home.merritt.ca or the Merritt Support Center to get help for that. Thank you for your assistance, your bravery, and your courage. Take care, be safe, and have a great evening. Good night.